ACCA, the world's most forward-thinking professional accountancy body.
Pressure in the workplace can take many forms, and our ability to deal with it can vary. This might be down to how resilient we're feeling at any particular point in time, but it can also depend on our character, our personal foibles. In this series of podcasts, business psychologist and coach Jess Baker tackles 3 areas where people might struggle to cope with pressure: being able to prioritise, being assertive, and managing oversensitivity. Continue listening to hear tips on how we can manage ourselves better to achieve more positive outcomes.
If you struggle to prioritise, is this because you tend to overcommit yourself? Do you take on more tasks than you have time for? Perhaps you say yes to doing things for others even when you don't have the energy. In this podcast, I'm going to look at why most people struggle to prioritise the things that matter, the emotional impact of not getting things done, and I'll share several unusual techniques that actually work. We live in a world where we feel pressured to do it all, do well at work, manage caring responsibilities, resolve our own and other people's problems. We're constantly worrying about all the tasks we haven't done yet. But we can't complain about feeling overloaded because we fear others will judge us as not competent. So we carry on trying to convince ourselves and others that everything is fine. But at what cost? Burnout is on the rise, sick leave for mental health reasons is increasing, and lots of people complain about feeling stretched or even overwhelmed. And it's self-perpetuating. Feeling overwhelmed is overwhelming. In this state, you are less able to focus on one task at a time. You are less efficient, so things take longer to do. And it can impact your relationships with others. For example, if a colleague is relying on you to deliver a piece of work on time, your delay causes additional tension in the relationship. Everything we do is a question of priority. We usually know what is a priority and what is not. So perhaps it would be useful to understand why we aren't getting on with the things that we know are urgent and important. We can create excuses that prevent us from taking action. These are some of the most common. Do you recognise any of them? I'm worried that I won't do a good enough job or that other people will think that. I'm too busy focusing on others' work and not my own. If this is the case, please listen to my other episode in this series where I talk about assertiveness. Another excuse is that I'll focus on the simple, quick tasks so that I get more done. Now, these excuses are irrational, and I want to take a look at them in turn. You might have worry thoughts like, I'm worried that I won't do a good enough job or that others won't think it's good enough. These are fairly typical thoughts that, ironically, conscientious people hold. If you didn't care about the quality of your work, you wouldn't be having these thoughts. But what do other people generally think about your work ethic and output? My guess is that you probably are doing a good job, and you probably are performing better than most of your colleagues, but you are also suffering more than them too. So let's put these worry thoughts into perspective. They are an emotional response that reflect a fear of failure or humiliation. If you are worried that you won't do a good enough job, try to think about it logically for a moment. If you have been given a task by someone else, it's probably because they think you are capable of doing it well. If you volunteered to take on this task, then try to see it as a challenge to overcome, an opportunity to learn. If you are not sure what is expected of you, then consider asking for clarity, for help or support. You may not have a realistic understanding of how other people value or judge your work, so ask them for feedback. When people give you credit, instead of discounting it, acknowledge it and welcome that appraisal as it's unlikely to be a lie. Ultimately, if you haven't prioritised the task that you are most worried about, it's the worry you have to deal with first. It might help you to consciously choose your attitude. Instead of worry, adopt a more realistic perspective. I will probably do a good job, even though it might take a lot of effort or time. How can we get started? The transition to effective prioritising can be a short-term challenge, but once you get going, it's usually far easier than you anticipated. If you face the fact that you can't continue to try to do it all, how do you decide what to drop? One method is to consider what tasks are both important and urgent, and do these first. Acknowledge the fact that your to-do list will not get shorter, but the things on that list will change. You could also try to get better at not overcommitting. Simply say no. Or say, I would like to, but I don't have the time. Or delegate to someone else. Again, do listen to the episode on assertiveness for lots of specific techniques on how to do this effectively. Think about avoiding time fillers, inbox clearing, cleaning your desk, making other lists, etc. These are all quick to do and they'll induce that rush of dopamine, but they won't get you any closer to achieving that one thing. You could also create a done list, focusing on what you actually have achieved, not on what you haven't done yet. Enjoy that dopamine hit when you tick them off. Celebrate finishing one task in maybe a playful way, like giving yourself a gold star. Or what about a today list? A focused, task-related, realistic list of 3 or 4 tasks that have to be completed today. You could even write this list out the night before, so when you get to your desk in the morning, your mind doesn't suddenly go blank. Another technique is to break down seemingly large or detailed tasks into what I call teeny tiny steps. Step 1. What is the task or the goal? Step 2. Make a list of all the things you need to do in order to achieve it. Step 3. What's the first step you need to take to achieve this goal? Step 4. Break down this first step into teeny tiny steps. Be very detailed. Step 5. Do the first of these tiny steps immediately. No excuses. By beginning this process, you'll find it much easier to tackle the whole task. And by taking action, you will diminish the impact of your initial worry thoughts. Then there's learning how to manage your emotions, the worry and overwhelm we've talked about. Not doing the thing we should be doing makes us feel tense, frustrated, and uncomfortable. Instead, to reduce this negative cycle, do things that help you regulate your nervous system, to help you rest and reset. Meditating calms you down. Exercising burns off excess cortisol. Spending time with loved ones induces oxytocin and supports serotonin. All of these activities promote feeling good about yourself. This final tip is my favourite and one that works best. Instead of just thinking about the task itself, think about the benefit of having done that task. I will feel proud of myself for having got it done ahead of the deadline. I'll be able to get on with things that I enjoy more. Think about how it might affect others. I'll have more time to spend with my partner or family. I'll be able to relax at the weekend instead of working. I hope you found these tips useful. Listen out for other podcasts in my series for ACCA members where I discuss how to be more assertive and how to manage being oversensitive.
This podcast was brought to you by ACCA. Find out how we think ahead at accaglobal.com.